Switch chat room, take 1.
When do you feel the most alone?
I would say when my relationship with God is distant.
I feel the most alone when I'm facing new things.
When I'm dealing with a new experience.
I feel most alone at night when it's just me and the house is quiet.
I would say I feel most alone when I don't have my normal connection with God. Because I find that when I'm disconnected from God, I become disconnected from people, and then I become disconnected from emotions, and then it just becomes a whole big overboard of just feeling alone and distant from just anything and everyone.
I feel the most alone when I'm facing new things or facing new challenges.
Just whenever you're dealing with something new that you don't know about, you don't feel like you have the level of skill and just familiarity with it that you think is acceptable.
I feel most alone at night when it's like, okay, I can sit down, collect my thoughts, and then especially if I'm going through something, I have to think about that and kind of like, I'll either go for like a drive or do some work or try and get my head out of that space.
Have you ever felt like you were treated differently because of your relationship with Jesus?
Absolutely. People just assuming that I hated them because I loved God. And that was always super tough. And then just kind of people having these forefront assumptions of me before actually getting to know me. And that was discouraging to me and wanting to actually share my relationship with God, because I'm like, I don't want them to think that I hate them right off the bat.
I kind of grew up also in a Christian household, but when I went to school, that's when I faced like all these different challenges.
It would always come to like, okay, do I tell this person that I volunteer and like that I go to Life.Church? Because it would always come with this, oh, okay. And some of them were believers, some of them weren't. And so it was always kind of like hard. And I finally got to the point where I was like, this is me. I'm just gonna come out and say it.
When I was younger, it was definitely like a thing where I don't know how comfortable I am with saying, yeah, like I have a relationship with God. But honestly, I didn't start being incredibly intentional about it until maybe a year or two ago, because I just started to have that foundation and relationship for myself instead of like my parents doing it for me.
What do you do when you feel isolated or alone in your faith?
Mine's kind of weird, but honestly, when I feel like, isolated as far as faith goes, I sort of do things that remind me of the gifts that I was given by God. I'm an audio person, so something that I do is I just start working on projects and stuff like that. This is something that God has equipped me to do, and this is something that I am giving back to Him. So I just do things that He's given me the skill set to do.
I tend to like overcompensate when I feel lonely, like hanging out with friends more, or honestly, there was like this one day where I think I called like 6 different people because I just felt so alone. I just wanted to talk to people. And in terms of like my relationship with God, I think a tough lesson I had to learn was just like there's no hiding from God. And as much as like when I feel alone and isolated in my faith, I tend to do a whole bunch of things to not feel that way. Something I've gotten in a good habit in is just bringing it all to God.
When I'm like, when I feel alone in my faith, I try to like hone in on what I think could be the problem. Because usually when that happens, there's something else in my life that I'm like avoiding or trying to like think through. And so I try to focus on that and then pray that He can help me through that.
So what I would do, I would put on my headphones and I would have like a worship playlist, and it was like all the songs that I literally titled it like God, I Need You. And then it was like all songs talking about that, like, oh, I'm here for you, God loves you, like all those worship songs. And I would just have those like blasting in my ears, even though like the world was like hating me around me. I was like, it's okay. Like, I got this.
Do you have a story about leaning on others during a season when following Jesus was really hard?
My mom has always been like a soul, like rock. We've been through a lot. And so it was always like, Mom, I don't feel like this is what I'm doing is right. And she's always been supportive of, okay, well, if you don't feel comfortable or you feel alone, try and reach out to God, try to start that conversation.
I've always been blessed with such a great community of just God-fearing people. I think whenever I grew distant from God, a relationship with God just became really hard. I surrounded myself with people who just consistently reminded me of who God was, even though I was far from that, and people who encouraged me, people who had been in my spot before, people who were willing to fight the spiritual battle with me.
As I was going through this with my school and, that life at my school, I started to talk to my parents about it just because I didn't know what to do. Like, it got really difficult. And turns out my dad was facing the same thing at his work. He was talking to people about church, he was talking to people about God, and they were giving him the same reactions. Me and my dad, we were able to work through that together, and we were able to be there for each other.
What advice would you give to a younger version of yourself for how to find good community?
You're not a burden, and isolation is never a great way to go about things. A lot of the times I felt like I couldn't go to people just because I didn't want to put anything else on their plate, and that I wasn't really worth their time. And so I think advice I would give to myself is that you're not a burden, and that there are a lot of people who are willing to fight with you.
It's important to, be honest about what it is you're dealing with, what questions you have, and also just to realize that, there are people that, will be by your side when you're having those issues in your relationship. So just all three of those, I feel like, impacted the way that I would tell my younger self about how to find community.
When navigating feelings of loneliness, what's something new you want to try based on this conversation?
Talking to people. Like you said, just keep telling myself you are not a burden. Like, I do have this amazing community now, but those thoughts still get into my head that I'm going through this, but it's a little problem. Like, I don't want to burden them with it, or they're not going to care,
I think that it's important to realize that there are just some things that just talking it out with someone who may be in the same boat or just understands is something that will get you back to the place where you feel just normal,
I would say probably finding a mentor, somebody who's committed to helping you and to giving you advice and to helping you take next steps in life and kind of just push you along, just be your person in that sense.
I would say probably taking a step of faith and just, hey, I don't know if this person is going through something similar, but this is what I'm going through. If they're going through the same thing, that makes you feel a lot less alone and a lot more available to talk to somebody instead of isolating yourself.